If you're on Social Security, or you will be soon, there's a number coming in October that's going to affect your check every single month next year, and the early estimates just shifted. So let's get into what's actually happening with the 2027 cost of living adjustment, because the picture has changed quite a bit since June. Back in June, some analysts were projecting a COLA as high as 4.7%. That number sounded great if you're depending on Social Security to keep up with your bills. But inflation has been cooling off since then, and with July's inflation report now out from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, those projections have come down noticeably. Mary Johnson, an independent policy analyst who's tracked COLA numbers for years, now projects a 3.4% increase, down from 3.7% in July and that earlier 4.7% estimate in June. The Senior Citizens League has also revised their number down, now estimating 3.6%, compared to their earlier forecast of 3.8%. And AARP is projecting 3.5%, which they say would raise the average retired worker's benefit by around $73 a month. So where does that leave us? Most of these estimates are now clustering in the mid-3% range. That's actually higher than the long-term historical average COLA of 2.6%, so retirees are still looking at a raise that's above the norm. But it's noticeably lower than those early peak forecasts from earlier this year. In plain terms, your check is likely going up more than usual, just not as much as it looked like a couple months ago. Now here's something a lot of people don't realize about how this number actually gets calculated. The Social Security Administration doesn't just look at general inflation. They specifically compare the average CPI-W, which stands for the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, for the third quarter of this year, meaning July, August, and September, against that same 3-month period from last year. July's CPI came in at 3.4% over the past 12 months, which is part of why these projections are landing where they are. But here's the catch, and it's an important one. We still don't have 2 of the 3 months needed for that calculation. August and September data hasn't been released yet, which means every projection you're hearing right now, including the ones I just gave you, is still preliminary. These numbers can and do move. So mark your calendar for 2 key dates. September 11th is when August's inflation data comes out, and that will refine these projections even further. Then on October 14th, September's inflation numbers get released, and that same day, the Social Security Administration makes the official COLA announcement for 2027. That's the number that actually matters. There's also another piece of this that affects your take-home benefit just as much as the COLA does, and that's Medicare Part B premiums. The Medicare Trustees report estimates the Part B premium could rise to $209.50 a month, which is roughly a $7 increase. Private forecasters have a wider range, somewhere between $207 and $221. Since Part B premiums typically get deducted straight from your Social Security check, this number matters just as much as the COLA itself when it comes to what actually lands in your account. Official Medicare figures aren't expected until late October or November, so that's another date worth watching. Put it all together, and here's where things stand right now. A COLA somewhere in the mid-3% range looks likely, benefits will probably rise more than the historical average, and the real, locked-in number arrives October 14th alongside the final piece of inflation data. Until then, everything is still an educated estimate, not a guarantee. If you want to stay on top of these numbers as they get finalized in September and October, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the updates. I'll be breaking down each new data release as it comes out, so you know exactly what to expect before the official announcement drops.